My name is Kojo. I am 66 years old. Right now I am the host of the Kojo show on WAMU radio, which is 88.5 FM on your dial. It airs every day from noon until 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, and I've been doing this for the past 13 years. I've only lived in two wards in the city, Ward 1 and Ward 4. I lived in Ward 1 from the time I got here in 1969, but in different locations in Ward 1. And in 1997, I moved to Ward 4. I lived for most of my time in DC in Ward 1 on 8th Street Northwest between S and T, right off across the street from Cleveland Elementary School, and that's where I raised my children. I'd have to start by telling you how I got involved in political activism, because it's as a result of a combination of political activism and acting that I got involved in broadcasting. I came to Washington in 1969 in pursuit of Black Revolution. I had been in the Black Panther Party in New York prior to that, and I had also been trying to find work as an actor in New York while working as a clerk on Wall Street. And working by day and trying to pursue an activist and acting career by night wasn't really working out for me. I wasn't really getting a lot accomplished. And then I heard about a new development in Washington, D.C. that was coming out of what was then Federal City College, something called the Center for Black Education, an organization that was going to establish itself as an independent educational institution for black people at the college level that would provide an alternative kind of education. And it seemed to me to be the kind of thing that in my early 20s would be appealing to me. So that's why I moved here from New York. And in the context of that organization, long story short, became the head of their communications core. It was an organization that had a Pan-Africanist worldview. And the communications core dealt with everything from publishing a weekly newspaper to writing, producing, and performing children's plays on the radio. As an actor, I was involved in directing and performing in those children's radio plays. And in those days, commercial radio stations had an obligation, a legal obligation, to perform a certain level of community service. And they generally did that on the weekend. So that's when our plays aired, and they had a spot on the weekend for, another public affairs program. They asked us if we could possibly produce a weekly newscast, and since we were actors, we felt we could act like news reporters. So we started producing a weekly newscast for them. Mm-hmm. And after we'd done that for a year or so, I found myself once again looking for employment. I was up until then working at a bookstore, Drum and Spear Bookstore, one of the first black bookstores in Washington that had closed. And so there was a new radio station in town, WHUR. I applied for a job there as news editor, and that's where my professional broadcasting career started, in news. Consciousness for me is an evolving phenomenon, and my own consciousness is evolving in that I was born in Guyana but have spent most of my life in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is the place where I raised my family. Washington, D.C. is the place where I have established a professional life, and the place where I have spent most of my artistic and cultural life, and it's home. However, that part of me that was instilled at birth and during my youth growing up in Guyana is a very important part of who I am, and it's very important for me to let the world know that that's a part of who I am. And a part of that is an ongoing interest in what is going on in the part of the world that I came from.